Alright, I thought I'd do a cold and dark startup for the Flybywire Airbus 320, and I'll do this at night because you can see, for guys that are new to Microsoft Flight Simulator, if you hit Alt and L, it gives you a little flashlight. I'll turn on my track IR. So first thing, you see everything's dark, everything's set to the cold and dark settings. I'm going to lean over here, upper panel. You want to turn your battery on, which is right up there. Left 1 and 2 battery. I do have exterior power available, so I'm going to click exterior power. And then what I do is I turn on the dome light to dim or bright, and then you can see inside a little better. So I'll leave that on. Alright, APU, before we push away from the gate, we'll turn the APU on. That's your alternative power unit, I believe. And what that does is basically provides power to the plane when it's disconnected from the exterior power before the engines are started. So you need that on while you're pushing back so that you can start your engines. Alright, so first I'm going to turn on the overhead interior backlighting on a little bit. Emergency lights to arm. No smoking lights turn on. Nav and logo lights turn on. And then the rest I leave off for now, because we're at the gate right now, so I don't need my beacon light on because we're not moving. Strobe lights are only on the runway and above ground. Landing lights are only on when we're off the runway and below 10,000 feet. And the taxi lights are only on when we're actually moving the plane. Alright, crew oxygen supply on. Turn our IRSs to nav. That's going to start the alignment process for a PFD and navigation display. And then you can do this now. This is just turning the fuel pumps on. We'll need those for the engine start. Okay, so that's for now. That's all we need with the upper panel. Alright, main panel. I'm going to, at night here, I'm going to kind of make these a little brighter. Flight display is on. I'm going to set my initial climb, which I'll get to. Actually, I'll do this later once I have my everything set up here. Altimeter setting. I can get on ATIS, but I'm just going to press on Microsoft Flight Simulator, press the letter B on your keyboard, and that will automatically set your altimeter here and here to the correct settings. I'm going to turn on my little tablet. I'm also going to increase my PFD and my navigation display a little brighter. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to increase this brightness a little bit, upper display and lower display. I'm going to turn on my, let me see here. I'm going to turn on my floodlight a little bit and my interior backlighting for the dash here a little bit longer. Alright, so TCAS. TCAS. And I don't know what these stand for, but I'm going to switch this over to TA/RA. All. This will, if you have it above, it's only showing traffic above you. Below will only show traffic below you. Threat will only show traffic that's, a threat to you. But this shows all traffic above and below 2,000 feet, or I think it's 3,000 feet. This is on. I switch this over to 2, and I switch this to on. It's all set up. So now your TCAS is set up. Also, predictive weather system or shear, turn this to auto. And then you're all set for that. I'm going to turn off my flashlight. Alright, over here. Now this is your Flybywire iPad. Now the dashboard, this is the first page of it. What I click on is, I always file my flight plans through SimBrief. So once I file this and it goes through VAT and I fly on VATSIM, once I click file on VATSIM, I can just click on from SimBrief. This will input my thing. So we're going to DFW, Dallas Fort Worth, to LAX, Los Angeles International. Now I didn't change my departure time, so this is all Zulu time. And right here you can see this is the MEDAR from DFW and LAX. So I can click on summary and it'll give me the what you'll normally see, altimeter 29994. I'll give you the clouds and everything like that, but I just like to leave it on this. This is altimeter in the the whatever that is, HPA, QNH, but right now it's HPA. This is the winds. Now the wind direction is always from. So when you see 330 degrees for the winds, that means the winds are coming from 330 or northeast. So if we look at our compass here, north is 360. I'm sorry, northwest, not northeast. North is 360, so 30 degrees left is this direction. So the winds are coming from 330 at 7 knots. Okay, and when you're trying to figure out what runway you're taking off from, think of it this way: you always take off into the wind, and you always land into the wind. And the reason for that is when you take off into the wind, it actually provides more lift to the aircraft. That's why you have your flaps down. So as you're going down the runway into the wind, it's giving more lift to the aircraft, and you can take off at a lower speed. So 330 degrees at 7 knots, dew point, and the outside temperature current for Dallas-Fort Worth, and this is for LAX, same thing. Now LAX always lands and departs west, except for extremely rare circumstances. And the reason for that is they always depart and land toward the ocean for obvious reasons. Any emergencies, obviously you want to put them out over the ocean instead of the highly populated areas. Okay, and then I also use a website to get the ATIS, current ATIS, especially when VATSIM's not active in the area I'm flying at. And then the website I use, I'll put in the notes below, is datis, or datis.cloud, spelled CLOWD.io. That'll give you most of the ATIS for U.S. airports, most U.S. airports. And I'll put those in the notes down below. Okay, down here, I'm going to go to my chart now. So my overview, this gives you an overview of the airport or the aircraft. My operational flight plan, what I'm going to do from this is get my planned fuel, and you can see my planned fuel is 25520. Okay, so for this one I go to fuel, I'm going to click here, 25540, hit the play button, start button, that'll fuel up my aircraft. And now I will be, I'm sorry, 25520. 25520. Alright. And now I'm in line with my operational flight plan. Alright, this is the screen where you go to all your, your passenger. If you click on this, flight, the airway comes over to you. Baggage, if you want that. You can have exterior power, door aft, all this stuff. But what I just use this for is my tug, really. And then this is a different, this is for planning, when to descend when you're in the air. Currently, this doesn't work unless you have I can't remember what this is for. You have to have a subscription for one of these. I think it's NavChart or something like that. I think in the future they're planning on just allowing you to import your own PDFs in here. Like if you have your own PDF saved for an airport, a chart, you can import it here. This is your communication. So we have Houston centers online, but we're at Dallas, Fort Worth, and they might actually cover. Let me see. Now, unfortunately, Dallas-Fort Worth is north of Houston Center, so they don't cover our area, so I can't use them. So I'm just going to stay on Unicom 122.8. Down here, you can make faults for your aircraft, and down here is your settings. And there's a lot of documentation on the Flybywire website for all this stuff, so I won't get into it. All right. Anyway, back to the cold and dark start. Okay, so I have my altimeter set. I'm going to go down here, and again, based off of, I already imported this from SimBrief, so now all I have to do is this. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do ATSU. LSK you'll see is line select key. LSK number 2, which means the second one down, is the ATSU, so I'm going to click on that. AOC menu, weights and balances. I'm going to hit send, which is going to give me the numbers, and I'm going to hit start to load my plane. Alright, that means all my passengers and cargo is loaded. Now I'm going to initiation. I'm going to click on reset, request. Now my flight level in SimBrief is actually AAL 1413 Bravo. That's too long for this, so I have to type it in. AAL 1413.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, on behalf of myself, your captain, the first officer, and cabin crew, I'd like to take this time to welcome you aboard our flight. We're just wrapping up some paperwork up front here and waiting to receive final numbers from the ground crew, then we'll be on our way. Flight attendants will be coming through the cabin shortly with a very important safety briefing. We do ask that you give them your full, undivided attention as they review the safety operations of this Airbus aircraft. We do appreciate your business having you aboard this flight. If there's anything we do to make your flight any more enjoyable, please don't hesitate to ask. Welcome aboard.
Okay, now I'm going to go to page 2 by clicking the right arrow. On Boeing, you'll see it says next page, but on this one, go to the right arrow. Zero fuel weight, you just click this line select key right 1. Click it once, it'll generate automatically, and click it again to input it. And then click this, fuel planning, confirm, confirm. Give it a second, it'll populate this for you. And then this is done. Alright, now I'm going to performance. I'm a little heavy, so I'm going to go flaps 2 to take off. And then I'm just going to click on V1. It's going to give me the setting down here. Click it again to input it. V2, or rotate speed, 135, click it. And then V2, 139, click it. And I'm all set. Alright, so I'm going to go to flight plan next. I'm taking off at DFW, but I have a specific SID I want to use and a specific runway I want to use. So remember the wind was from 330 degrees. Checking the ATIS for DFW, 36 right and 35 left are the active departing runways right now. We're at Terminal C, which is on, pull up my map here, Terminal C is on the east side, and 35 left is the runway I want to use because that's the runway on the east side along Terminal C. Whereas 36 right is actually on the west side of the airport. So if I was on Terminal D or Terminal B, I would want to use 36 right. But we're on the east side of the airport, so I want to use 35 left. So I click on departure, scroll down to 35 left, select that. From SimBrief, I know I'm using WestX2 as my SID. So find that. WestX2. And then my transition is CCAN, or CCON, whatever you want to pronounce it. And then you hit insert. Now I'm going to look here and see if there's any flight discontinuities, and I don't see any. So seeing none, I'm going to go to my destination airport. Now this is LAX. I'm going to click on this. Now the arrival for LAX is 25 right or 25 left. Again, remember it lands and departs west. So 24 right and 25 left are both westerly runways. And it also says or vector for visual approach, which basically means ATIS or ATC will give us vectors once we get close to the airport. Now I'm going to choose 25 left because I'm flying for American and they use Terminal 5, so 25 left is closest to Terminal 5. So I'm going to click arrival, and I'm going to use ILS 25 left. My star is Hollywood 1. Again, this is all from SimBrief. And my transition, there's no vias, so my transition, I'm going to click insert, and my transition is eastward. Insert again, and then I'm going to scroll down. Make sure there's no discontinuities, which there always is, because you'll see when it gets to the manual phase. Okay, so there's one right here. Clear that out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically, I'm going to switch, so this is already on plan. I'm going to go up to about 40 nautical miles. And then I'm going to scroll through my flight plan and make sure everything looks okay. Okay, so I'm going to click on flight plan once to bring it up to the beginning. This is where I currently am. I can actually drop this down to 20 nautical miles. And I'm just going to scroll through and make sure the flight plan on here looks right. Make sure there's not any weird zigzags or gaps or anything like that. Yep, straight in. So everything looks good to me. Sometimes what you'll see on your flight plans, especially if your star isn't the correct star, it'll show you like something way up here, and then it'll have you going way up this way, and then it'll have you like shooting this way and then shooting this way. So you just want to make sure the flight plan looks logical. Now some flight plans, like say this airport was landing east, and we had a star that was from the east, sometimes what you'd have to do is you'd have a flight plane that would come over here and then it would circle you around. That would be normal because it would have to circle you around to get in line with the runway. But this looks good. Flight plan again. And I'm going to switch this back over to ARC, down to 10 nautical miles range. And everything should be set up there now. Okay. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off my dome light. I'm going to close my door, which is down here. That door kind of blocks out some of the sound. Now I'm flying with smart cars, so I do have to actually start my flight, which you'll hear as soon as we get rolling. You hear the flight attendant start speaking. I'm going to go over here and double check again. I'm still on Unicom. Pull this down to see if anybody's at the airport. So this is just my VFR map. I'm just going to open this up. Sometimes people are at the airport, and if you have VATSIM on, you'll be able to see them on here. But there's nobody here, it's just me, so I don't have to get on Unicom and give them, updates of what I'm doing, so I don't have to worry about any other traffic. And basically what I'll do here now is I'm going to do my pushback, okay? So, first things first, I'm going to call the tug. Go back to this page right here, click on call tug. That'll come up to me. Now if you want realism, when you do your engine start procedures, you look at the date. If the current date is odd, you start with engine 1 first. If the current date is even, you start with engine 2 first. Today's April 17th, so I'm going to start with engine 1 for my startup first. And you don't start up at the gate, you actually start up while you're in pushback mode. So the tug is ready to go. What I have to do here first, actually I forgot to tell you, is turn on your APU. Click on this first, and then you click on start. Let that start up a little bit. And again, what this does is it provides power to the airplane while it's disconnected from the exterior power, but before the engines are on. I should have done this a little earlier so I don't have to wait for it, but now we have to just sit and kind of wait for a minute. And you can actually, if I switch over to the exterior camera, you can hear the APU because it's got like a high-pitched whine to it. Hear that whine? That's the APU starting up right now. And that's why you don't want to You don't want to sit with your APU on too, because you'll kill the flight crew down here. Kill their ears. Okay, that's ready to go now because that's available. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Apu Bleed. That'll actually allow me to start the engines. So I turn that on. Disconnect parking brake. And I can begin pushback. And while I'm pushing back now, I'm going to turn on my ignition. Switch this on. And again, it's an odd day, so I have to start with engine 1 first. I'm going to look over here. I'm waiting for this N2 to reach 25. As soon as that reaches 25, that means engine 1 is started. That sound you heard was exterior power disconnecting. I forgot to manually disconnect it. So 24, alright, 25. Engine 1 has started. Go to engine 2, start that. Same thing. Actually, I'm going to start turning here. Alright, both engines started. Turn off the ignition. Turn off the APUs. APU bleed and APU, turn it off. I'm going to stop my pushback here. And I kind of screwed up. I'm actually facing north, but I have to take off 35 left, which is this one right here. So I should have pushed back facing south, but that's alright. Alright, I'm going to turn on my parking brake. Disconnect the tow. Now, if you see this right here, versus this NW strong disconnect or whatever that means, that just means your tug is still attached. So if you're having problems like, you know, you go to accelerate or you throttle up and your airplane goes forward but it will move left or right, that just tow's still attached. So make sure you put this into blue again, disconnect it, and wait for this to go away. As soon as that goes away, you're ready to taxi. Okay, now we're good to go. Alright, now I'm going to leave this little map up so I can see my taxiways. Now looking at the chart for the airport, looks like I'm going to taxi now I'm looking at a chart, but you can't see it. I'm going to taxi, looks like Foxtrot, all the way down. No, that's not right. Lima. Take Lima taxiway all the way down to 35 left. Okay, flight controls are up. Test my rudder. Rudder works. Ailerons and elevators are all working good. Okay, I'm going to set my flaps to 2 for my performance takeoff. I'm going to arm my spoilers, and I'm going to set them at max. And this means if I have a failed takeoff, my brakes will kick in, basically. And I'm going to disconnect parking brake, throttle up just a little bit, just to get the plane moving. Turn on my taxi lights. As soon as the plane starts moving, I'm going to throttle basically down to idle because this plane does not need a lot to move it. So this taxiway right here is Lima from the chart, so I need to get over to Lima. And what I can also see is that coming up to here, let's see as we get by it. So with the black background, that's the current one you're on. So this is Kilo 9. This one right here is Kilo 9, and it says Lima is to the right. So this taxiway right now is Lima. Now as I turn right onto Lima, you'll see the next taxi sign I get up to, Lima, will have the black background, which means that that's the active taxiway that you're on. You see right there, L with the black background means that this is Lima. Then you can see the arrows pointing to the different taxiways from there. Now taxi speeds, they say you don't want to exceed 30. So you don't want to exceed 30 for ground speed when you're taxiing. You really probably want to keep it around 20 to 25. 90-degree turns you want to slow down to about like 10 to 15. This is the normal turning speed, so you're not throwing your passengers and crew all over the place. Alright, this is the takeoff kind of checklist here. So my brakes are at max. Signs. Sorry guys, forgot to turn my seatbelt sign on. Cabin. Click on that little button, all button. And my takeoff configuration button is right here. Click on this. And we're good to go. Alright, we're at 26, 25. Get closer to 35 left. Now again, if VATSIM was active, or if I had any other traffic at this airport, I would be given updates. You know, as far as you know, my call sign would be saying American 1413 Dallas Fort Worth traffic taxiing 35 left via Lima, and then I'd say Dallas Fort Worth to close it out. But there's nobody on right now, so I'd just be talking to myself like I am now. Alright, so this is 35 left coming up here. I don't need this anymore. Close that out. Apply some brakes here so I can make my left turn. Not that much brakes, but it's alright. Now, again, normally you would follow ATC commands if they said, you know, line up and wait or hold short or whatever, but there's no traffic here. So I'm going to look left, I'm going to look right. I see no incoming traffic, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up and line up and wait. As soon as you cross the stop line here, what you do is you turn off taxi lights, turn on landing lights, and you turn on your strobe light. Okay?
Flight attendants, please prepare for takeoff.
Alright, so that's it. I won't bore you with the rest, but that's the cold start Flybywire A320. I'm going to continue on. I got a flight to Los Angeles tonight. But everybody have a good night, okay?